Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you from Gasfields and Synergy Exposures for this morning session on LPG gas installation, design, safety, and assured gas savings. We have Mr. Venugopal and Mr. Akhil to share their insights on gas and gas savings and design and safety aspects. I hand the session over to Mr. Akhil.
Yeah.
Mr. Akhil.
Thank you, Mr. Vijesh, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this webinar that's been organized by Synergy, and we thank them very much, and for the participants as well for taking time out of their schedules and joining us. So we'll start this session, which is divided into two parts. The first half an hour, we'll go through the entire presentation. I'll discuss various aspects about LPG, and after that we'll go with the questions from different participants and discussions on LPG and the safety aspects and the design aspects. And post that, we'll share our contact details with you, and you can send in your emails or your queries regarding LPG or anything related to LPG, and we'll be more than happy to help you on this. So, and I hope everyone is doing well in this current situation and the coronavirus situation that is, affected everyone, not just any particular industry, but everyone in the entire country and the entire world. And I strongly believe that with proper care and supporting each other and helping each other and sharing knowledge will definitely help us in getting back into businesses and getting back into a normal situation, even if not sooner, but definitely with time we'll definitely get to that. So I really hope that everyone is taking proper care, and especially this time after the lockdown has been lifted is going to be very crucial, not just for us, but even for the employees and the clients and for everyone that is involved in the industry. So everyone has got the responsibility to be cautious, take care, and just make sure that you support each other. So starting with the presentation today, we'll be focusing on LPG installations, the design aspects, the safety aspects, and how to get assured gas conservation and savings. So, and the key focus, as you might have already seen in the template, will be on the introduction to the usage and properties of the LPG, the importance of having a good design and a good quality installation, and the safety aspects that are involved when you get to a technically perfect LPG system and how it's going to help the end user, be it in their operational convenience or the safety of the employees involved in the installation. So apart from that, we'll discuss about the operational convenience and most importantly, conservation of LPG. Before we start going into the depth, I'd like to just give a brief introduction about the company. We've started in 1988 by my father, Mr. Venugopal, who will be joining us for the discussion session after the presentation is done. And we actually provide complete and end-to-end LPG solutions, including installations, services, the consultancy for LPG, periodic AMCs, training for the staff and for everybody who is involved in the industry, and also auditing services. For the last 32 years, we've easily carried out more than 3,000 installations across the country, and all the knowledge that we've gathered and the expertise we use in understanding the customer's needs, and therefore we plan and execute our installations or the services. And most importantly, in all our installations or the services that we give to the clients, we follow highest safety standards, and we also all the norms and all the standards that are prescribed by the government are part and parcel of our installations and our services. As you must be aware of some of the basic standards given by the OISD and the IS 6044, 2018 is the latest version, which is used for the LPG installations across the country. Apart from that, all the gas cylinder rules and all the relevant codes are followed in our supply, our installation, and in all the other services that we cater to the industry. So our motto is in general to provide safe, convenient, and quality installations or services with assured LPG conservation or LPG savings. So before we go into the properties of the LPG and what LPG is, most of you, if not everyone, deals with LPG or must have used it or have seen the installation as part of their daily work, or because most of you who've joined us today are part of the hospitality industry. Most people think that LPG is you get a cylinder, you connect a pipe to the burner, and you get the flame. But there is so much to it. And we've seen over the past years when we go and visit the sites or go and visit the clients, due to a lack of a certain amount of knowledge or lack of a certain amount of basics, uh, they've been using the entire system or the LPG in general in a way that will cause them a lot of issues with convenience, with safety especially, and they waste a lot of LPG. So this entire session is focused on that, and I hope that by the end of this session, everyone who's participated and to everyone that this presentation is going to reach will come out with an additional information or better understanding of LPG, and they'll impart that knowledge into their daily activities. So coming to LPG and its properties, LPG is generally, most of the people say LPG is a byproduct when you process natural gas or crude oil. However, we like to think that LPG is a very valuable co-product of the natural gas processing and crude oil refinery process. And LPG in India is predominantly a mixture of propane and butane with minor quantities of other heavier hydrocarbons or even ethane. So especially when you get the cylinders into your installation or into your property, the cylinder marketing company or the ones that supplies the cylinders to you, you can even get a certificate from them where it shows the composition of the LPG, which is usually given by ONGC or similar organizations. So when it comes to general mixture of LPG, you have about 1 to 2% of ethane, and the major composition will be propane and butane at about 52 to 54% of propane and 44 to 45% of butanes, which are divided into iso and normal butanes. And also a certain amount of heavier hydrocarbons, which are classified as C5. I mean, this is just for basic understanding that LPG is not just one particular gas, and it's got several compositions that will make it as a comprehensive LPG, which is used in the industry. And all the LPG cylinders and the entire industry, LPG industry in India, is governed by the Indian Standard Code by IS 4576, and the test methods are IS 1448. Based on these methods and codes, the LPG is marketed in India, be it by the PSUs like Indian Oil, HP, BP, or even the private companies. So just to make you understand that LPG is not something very simple, there's a lot of complex procedures that go into it. Just giving you a brief of how the LPG is produced. You don't need to memorize this, you don't need to take notes of it, but just to make you understand that LPG is something complex, yet very safe fuel for our needs. So it starts off with either crude oil, as I mentioned in the previous slide, crude oil or natural gas processing. And it goes through several processes, and in the end, you'll get to ethane, propane, butanes, and heavier carbons, which are pentanes. The entire thing will contribute to as LPG, and it is sent to the end user through cylinders or other modes. So coming into the properties of LPG, the reason why we thought it is important for us to share this information is because, as I already mentioned to you previously, most of the people think LPG is just a gas and you connect it to a pipeline and you connect it to a burner and you'll get a flame. However, we've noticed a lot of lapses in quality or safety or operational procedures in most of the sites is due to lack of understanding of what LPG is and how it works. So that made us think that why not just introduce LPG and its properties to the participants, so that by the end of it they'll understand what LPG is, and maybe, I mean, when it comes to their operations, they'll think of it in a different way and operate it in a different way. So to start with, in the next few slides, you might see a lot of information on your screens. However, don't get too carried away with that, because due to the short session, we tried to put as much key information as possible. And this entire information will be shared to you in the form of a PPT or a PDF for you to refer to and keep it as a backup in your at your sites. And I've tried to highlight the major points and major words are in bold for you to just quickly go through it as I run through the slides. So as we start off, LPG is denser than air. The major compositions being butane and propane. Butane is about 2 times more heavier than air, and propane is about 1.5 times. So that is the reason why when you have an LPG leak, it will usually settle at the floor level or a ground level, and it will accumulate in depressions. And when it comes to water, it is approximately half that of water, and it usually settles on the top layer of water in case if there is any leak under the water surface. It's not relevant to most of the hospitality field. However, it is one of the properties that I wanted to just discuss. So in a non-pressurized state, LPG is in its gaseous form. That's the reason why in the cylinder, when you get the cylinders, be it 19 kgs or 47 kgs or any other sizes, it is usually in its liquid state, and when it's released, it gets converted into a vapor. So a liquid LPG is something that evaporates at a very rapid rate to about 270 times the volume of gas. Like for example, one part of liquid LPG is left into atmosphere, it expands into 270 times. So that due to that rapid evaporation, it can cause severe cold burns to the skin when liquid LPG is not handled properly. So even small quantities of liquefied gas can be a hazard. That's the reason why we urge all the industry to have adequate ventilation when it comes to the ground level of any gas bank or even in the kitchens as well. Adequate ventilation is something that will help you beyond imagination. So when you get the cylinders, you see that the liquid is only filled to a certain level of the cylinder. The reason being is that the room that is given is for the expansion, because what will happen is the cylinders are filled into the gas is filled into the cylinders at a temperature which is equivalent to the tanker's temperature. So what will happen if there is any expansion, the pressure increases in the cylinder, and that is approximately up to 14 to 15 kgs per centimeter square for each change of degree Celsius. That clearly explains why, as most of you must be aware, when we share the do's and don'ts of LPG, you always have to weigh in the cylinders. It is a tedious process. However, the reason behind that is because of the hazardous situation that could arise if you have overfilling cylinders. Some people think overfilling cylinders, okay, you get extra gas, it is beneficial, but it is not. It can be very bit detrimental to the customers, and the safety aspects are beyond imagination. So that's the reason why we urge you to not accept any overfilling of the cylinders. That can only be possible when you weigh in the cylinders. It could be a tedious process, but you please contact us and we'll give you the process on how to do that on a separate occasion. Now coming to the calorific value and the combustion of LPG. LPG's calorific value is quite high, is about 11,900 to about 12,000 kilocalories, and which is much higher than your PNG and diesel. That makes it as an excellent source even today for cooking or any other process involved in the kitchens especially. And when it comes to combustion, you must have noticed that LPG is when you have the flame, you see colors like blue, orange, yellow, and things like that. Whereas a blue flame means the complete combustion of the gas. So LPG, usually the propane and the butane which you have as a major composition, it ignites with a blue flame in its spectrum. So what happens is, if the burners are not serviced properly, if there is lack of air for the combustion to happen, then you'll see the orange flames, and increased pressure also will lead to the orange flames. These orange flames are an indication that the LPG that is getting released out of the burner is not being combusted fully. That means that two things. One is a safety aspect, because it could lead to carbon monoxide emission and in the form of smoke. And as you all know, carbon monoxide is dangerous. And also the other aspect is wastage of LPG. Whatever that is not combusted will leak as waste, and eventually you'll be paying for it but not going to use it. So we urge everybody to just keep an eye on the flames always and make sure that it is as blue as possible. And any changes in the flame, or if you're noticing a regular or a constant orange flame, please consult the technician, and they'll be able to check whether there is an issue with the flow that is coming into the burner, or there is a issue with the burner itself or the pressure setting at the burner level. As you see, there's a small diagram here which shows perfect combustion, good combustion, and incomplete combustion, where you have fuel and air coming into the a burner. And with incomplete combustion, you'll have carbon monoxide, and it's very dangerous. And you have to keep an eye on it. And also, when it comes to the explosive or a combustible range of an LPG, it is usually between 2 to 10.5% of the volume of gas to air. I'll explain that. So basically what happens is when LPG is released into air, the composition should be 2% of LPG in that particular area of the area where the LPG is released. The ratio between the LPG and the air should be minimum 2% and a maximum of 10%, 10.5%. Within this range, LPG is combustible. You must be hearing this term quite often, especially with leak sensors saying the lower explosive limit. So that is nothing but your percentage. When you multiply it by 10,000, it will give you ppm. So the lower explosive limit, or the lowest range where where the LPG is going to get combusted, is about 20,000 ppm. So all the sensors, for example, the leak detection sensors which are placed to detect any leakage, are usually calibrated keeping this 20,000 ppm in mind, and they're calibrated at about 10%, which is about 2,000 ppm. So coming into the other properties, before we go further into design and other safety aspects, yeah, LPG, as you are aware, when it leaks or when you smell it, you smell a particular odor. However, LPG on its own is considered as odorless, and however, to make it, however, for you to smell it in case of a leak, a chemical called ethyl mercaptan is normally added by all the marketing companies at the time of manufacturing only, so that when it escapes, people around it can actually detect it. This has been practiced in India, and ethyl mercaptan has been used in general and in common. And also, it is colorless, both in liquid and vapor phase. And what happens is when a liquid LPG is leaked, most of you might have noticed that it forms a whitish fog around the leak. The reason being is it's not because it is forming a white color or something like that. However, when it cools the atmosphere because of its rapid vaporization, it tends to form a whitish fog by condensing the water vapor in the air. That is the reason why you see a whitish fog, especially when in LOT installations. If you see something like this, please alarm, or please make sure the technicians are made aware of it. And apart from this, coming into the toxicity of LPG, it is considered as slightly toxic or not toxic. However, however, you can suffocate when it is in large quantities. The reason being is LPG needs oxygen for it to burn, and when LPG is in higher volume, it leaks. What will happen is it will replaces oxygen in the air, and it can cause something that is called as asphyxiation, which is nothing but displacing oxygen in the air, and it can lead to suffocation. That is one of the other reasons why we say ventilation in the kitchen is very important. And the hoods and the ventilation and the HVAC, when it's being designed, it is very important to make sure that it is proper ventilation of fresh air, and also extraction of the used air. Apart from this, when it comes to the fire extinguishing, you must be aware that you'll have your fire extinguishers inside the kitchen and the gas banks, and they're usually a dry chemical powder that is used, or even CO2. So after having discussed about the key properties of LPG over the last 3 slides, what I would like to discuss is the advantages of LPG over other fuels. LPG is something that is majorly used in the country, or even around the world, as a source of a fuel, especially for the kitchens. And that is because of its clean burning. It's got very high calorific value, and the burners that are used, or the equipment that are used, when it runs on LPG, they have a longer life, and it is environmental friendly, as it is a co-product of an extraction. And also, all the norms specific to the country or to the state are easily available on the websites. And if you need any sort of information about the norms or the procedures or the standards, please write to us or give us a call, and we'll be able to share them with you. And LPG on its own is extremely efficient and effective if used properly. So now, before going into the design aspects, I'd like to just briefly discuss about our vision. We strongly believe that educating fellow associates or the colleagues in the industry makes it beneficial for both the end users and also for us, as during this process we learn and we'll get to know a lot of things, and the awareness that is created, it's beneficial for you and also for us as an installer or a service provider. So that's the reason why all our services to the customers are all customer centric, and in each of our installation, or be it a consultation or be it an AMC, it is specifically customized to every client, as every client's needs are different and we cannot template it uh, as a particular standard. Every client's needs are different and we have to understand their needs, and then only we'll be able to address the issues. That is something that we strongly believe in. So before we go into the design, I'd just like to give a brief about how to approach towards LPG. As I mentioned, LPG is a very safe source of energy, and with awareness and due care, uh, it can be used in a very safe and an efficient way without any accidents, without any operational inconvenience, without any lack of quality, and a long-lasting installation that is safe for everybody to use. And for this to happen, there's the different factors. However, we try to bring it short into three mantras for you to just make a note of. Um, there are three things, which is never compromise, never neglect, and never postpone. Explaining it, never compromise as in, for example, when you're going for an installation in your property, or you're giving a consultation to a client, we urge you to never compromise on quality, because there are certain brands in the market which sell the same product for maybe about 50% less. However, when it comes to quality, not all the brands or not all the manufacturers are the same. So we always urge you to look for the best quality product, because that will help you in a long run. The cost might be a little higher, even cost might be about 30-40% more. However, that compared to the actual costs of operation or the services, or the issues that occur later on, it is very negligible. And after that, never neglect. For example, in your installation, you've seen a rust in a pipe, or some loose connections or things like that. Never neglect thinking LPG is flowing, you're getting the flame, your food is getting cooked. Never think in that way. Always act to it and never postpone. Like, for example, if, as I mentioned, if there is a leak or if there is any rust in a pipe, kindly attend to it immediately. Never neglect and never postpone that. That will what happens with that is you are on track, and anything that happens, for example, if there is an issue with the installation, if there is an issue with the service, if there is an issue with any component, when you act to it immediately, that will help in a huge way, especially in terms of safety, because any neglect or any postponement or any compromise can lead to accidents, and that will be detrimental to everyone involved. And the pain and the cost that are caused due to it is something very high when you compare to the care that you can take. So always give importance to quality over costing. I can understand that costing is a very important factor when it comes to hospitality industry. However, we try to educate our clients by saying that to give importance to quality over costing, and always seek professional help, and always be proactive and put safety first. And we strongly believe in quality, safety, as I mentioned, convenience, and also most importantly, LPG conservation. So before we start off with the design and the design factors, not for just LPG industry, for any industry, I think these three keywords will play a prominent role. Like, when you go into a customer, when you are going to a customer, or a customer comes to you, before you give your product or before you discuss anything, you have to listen to the customer, because what that will help is you will try to understand the customer's point of view, what he wants, even though they might not be knowledgeable in your field. But giving a listen to what they are saying will help you to process and will help you to think on what product or what design or what solution will be beneficial to the customer. So always listen first and think as to, based on your expertise and your knowledge, process whatever the customer has said and put in all your information and the knowledge, and based on that you design a product or a service to the customer. So we strongly believe in listen, think, and design. So now coming into quality and design aspects, uh, I'd like to reiterate the importance of design and quality. As I mentioned to you earlier, LPG installations cannot be templated, and for every installation, it has to be very specific, and making sure high standards are followed with all the norms, site conditions, and the actual requirements of the user are taken place, are taken into consideration, and also the costing in mind. What will happen is, if everything goes well, as you see in the picture, everyone is happy, especially the chefs or the end users or the management, even the installers, they're all happy that there's been no issue. However, if the design and quality, if there is a lapse in it, it will lead to various things, like for example, misuse of the system. Like most often you must have seen, there's lack of pressure, there's lack of volume when it comes to LPG, and people complaining in the kitchen and all sorts. That will happen because of lack of design and lack of quality in the installation. And also, if the design is faulty, you'll have a lack of safety features. For example, if there is an issue with a particular section in the kitchen where you're working as a chef, and what will happen is, if there is any particular leakage or any issue in that particular section, then you should not be running to a valve, like to shut down that particular area. It has to be accessible, it has to be right next to that section. So all these features, like emergency shut off valves or your slam shut off valves or your flashback arresters or your solenoid valves or your leak detection and things like this, can only be part of the installation when the design is right. And apart from this, if the design is faulty, what will happen is, you'll have increase in maintenance costs, you'll have inconvenience to the end user with a lot of repetitive repairs, and also lack of quality will lead to breakdown and accidents. And eventually wastage of LPG is something that is very underrated. And because what people think is, you paying for an LPG, you think that you've already used that LPG. However, certain amount, maybe up to 40% of it, is going wastage in some of the installations. And a good quality installation, a good design, and proper training will help you in reducing the wastage and also increasing the longevity of your installation. So coming into the design factors, um, what happens is, when the design is right, as I mentioned to you, things go well. So for a design to be right, there are certain factors. So before you design an LPG installation, or before we design an LPG installation, there are certain factors that we keep in mind, which are like having all the equipment in the kitchen. They'll have specific requirements and specific technical specifications, and for example, the volume and the pressure of each equipment will vary. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. It's not that you lay a pipe, you do fittings on either side, and you give gas. That is not the way to approach when it comes to the LPG installation. LPG installations are actually very technical, and things like pressure and volume play a prominent role. That's the reason why we take and we get all that information from the clients as to what equipment they're using, what are the specifications, what are the consumption patterns are going to be, what are the cooking times, possible cooking times of the kitchen. Things like these play a prominent role when it comes to a perfect design. And routing of the piping and placing of the control locations inside the kitchen will play a prominent role. Like for example, piping has to be exposed mostly, as you are aware of it. And what will happen is, if concealed as per the norms, the joints have to be minimal with excellent mechanical strength, and all the joints in the pipe have to be accessible. And especially the control valves, your regulators, your pressure gauges, or anything that has to be accessed should be in easily accessible positions for you to operate them in a panic situation, or in general for operational convenience. Also, when it comes to routing, you have to avoid fire exits and any area which you think is hazardous. It could be clubbing with an electrical line or a bus duct or things like that. You have to make sure that LPG routing is done away from any hazardous area. And all this information can be provided by the installer by sharing their knowledge. So always seek professional help when it comes to LPG installations. And also, once you've designed, before installing an LPG installation, you should get an approval from the other services, for example, HVAC or plumbing, etc. Because what will happen is, there shouldn't be any clashes with the routing, and there should be any rework. going forward. Once all these design factors are taken into consideration, end-to-end layout, which is the design or the drawings, have to be reviewed by the client, by the other services, to ensure that the LPG installation is done smoothly and without any hurdles. Now, coming into quality factors, we strongly believe that a quality installation will last long and is actually helpful to the customer, and the cost with increased quality is very small and minimal compared to uh, the cost of repairs or the maintenance that can happen in case if the installation is faulty. So when it comes to the factors that contribute to a quality installation or a service, first of all, the expertise in the field of the installer, expertise and the experienced work staff that they have while installing an LPG system, and the construction of the material, the brands that are used, the makes that are used are very important, and they have to be in line with IS 6044 standards, which are outlined, and the latest version is 2018, which will be shared with you once the presentation is done. And piping should be, for example, should be in accordance with the Indian norms, and if Indian norms are not available, or the piping, then the piping has to follow the international norms. For example, MS pipe, which is mild steel, or the stainless steel pipe, which are usually used, and the piping that some of you might have heard is the polyethylene composite line, which is something that follows the ASTM standards, and it is used widely across Western countries for its safety and longevity. So this is something that we've been using it for some of the installations, especially for multinational companies and for the bigger clients. The reason being is of this safety aspects, and also the lack of joints, things like that. However, they meet the international norms, the ASTM standards, and so always look out for options which are above standard, which are of high standard, which will help you for a convenient and a safe installation. And the size of the piping is usually based on the volume and the pressure. Don't just go with the as a norm that a 1-inch pipe or a 2-inch pipe is what you need. Based on your needs and based on your size of the kitchen and the volume and the pressures, the size of the piping is decided. And all the other materials also should have individual certifications wherever applicable. So once the installation is completed and the quality installation is done, you should always ask for relevant test and quality certificates, be it for the installation or for the products that are used in the installation. And approved makes are a must. And once the installation is completed, documentation like your certificates, your procedures, your operating procedures, your checklists, and things like that is key. And you should always keep a record of that. And on-time installation, on-time after-sale service is something that is very important. And scheduled AMC after your warranty period is something that plays a major role in safety and convenience to the end user. So as we've discussed these quality factors, now I'll just run you through a typical LPG system design. It might seem a little comprehensive. However, I'd just like to run you through it, and a similar design will be shared with you, and you can have a look. In case of any doubts, you can get back to us. So a typical LPG system starts from a gas bank and ends with the equipment. So in this, there's a lot of things involved apart from just a piping or a valves and pressure gauges and regulators. So in a gas bank, usually coming out of the cylinder, the pressure is about 6 to 7 bar, whereas the equipments, most of the burners that are manufactured in India are manufactured about 300 millibar. So for a pressure to regulate from that 6 to 7 bar to the equipment level, there should be several stages of pressure regulation. So at the gas bank level, you will have your cylinders connected into the manifold system, and after that you'll have your isolation valves and you have your pressure gauges. And coming into the control and regulations unit, which I'll discuss in the next slide, and after that you'll have an emergency isolation valve outside the gas bank. And after the gas bank, the pipeline runs through the ducting, or it could be through the basement, or it could be exterior of the building. Based on the site conditions, it comes into the kitchen area or the floor area, and it gets segregated into different kitchens if they are there. So once it comes into a kitchen, always have to make sure that at every kitchen level, at the entry point, there has to be a pressure gauge and there has to be an emergency isolation valve. prior to the wall, there has to be a pressure gauge. And after that, you'll have features like your flashback arrestor, your filters, your secondary pressure regulator here. What that is going to do is, once the pressure is released from the cylinder, it goes into the gas bank control unit. It gets further reduced to a maximum of 2 bar pressure, and that travels all the way to your kitchen entry. At that point, 2 bar pressure is not needed for your kitchen purpose. So what happens is, you have to install a right sized and right volume pressure regulator that will decrease the pressure from 2 bar to a further of less than 1 bar. What we suggest is, the pressure inside the kitchen should never be more than 1 bar, because it is not needed, as most of the equipment that are used are rated at a much lower pressure, um, ideally at about 300 millibar, and even the low pressure equipment that are being used of late at a very higher numbers are even designed at about 25 to 50 to 60 millibar. So you can understand that changes in pressure will lead to a lot of benefits, like increase in pressure unnecessarily will lead to safety issues and also wastage of LPG. So after the regulation is done, it goes through additional features like your automatic solenoid valve, which cuts off the LPG, and this is connected to your leak detection system, which is an excellent additional feature, which acts in accordance with the pipeline. And in case if there is a leak, the sensor detects it and sends a signal to the solenoid valve and also to the panel, and the LPG going into the section is cut off automatically. And this can be connected to your BMS in case if you have one in the building. And apart from that, you'll have a flow meter for every kitchen section. It is always beneficial to monitor the flow of the kitchen. Always, I mean, you have to relate it to the production, and it's relevant for your budgetary purposes. And also after that, you have, once the LPG flows through the flow meter, you will have another emergency isolation valve at every branched line. It is very important because usually leakages happen at the end point. When it happens at the end point, you should not be running to see where the emergency shut-off valve is at the entry of the kitchen. For that particular section, you should always have an emergency shut-off valve followed by a pressure gauge and your equipment placed beyond that. And also you can have your fire suppression system, which is integrated into the hoods, connected to the LPG line. It can be integrated. What will happen is, in case if there is a fire under the hood, the LPG flowing into that particular area is shut off automatically. So all these features will contribute to a typical good quality design. Coming into the controls of at the gas bank level, as you see here, you have two gas banks. One is a running gas bank, one is a standby gas bank, which is always beneficial. And post that, you'll have isolation valves separate for each manifold. And after that, you'll have your individual ball valve, which is getting connected to the other safety and regulatory features like your filters, your slam shut-off valves, your primary pressure regulators, and your excess flow check valves, and your flashback arresters. And we always tend to educate the customer or the client and make them aware that wherever possible, to have a bypass and to have a standby. Like for example, a pressure regulator should always have a standby pressure regulator. So if one fails, you have the other one to operate, and things like that. And also pressure gauges should never be just one for an input or just one for an output. It's better to have two pressure gauges. In case if one fails, you'll have another pressure gauge to show that what is the pressure which is either inlet or outlet. So after that, you'll have your flow meters in the line going into the kitchen. So we suggest to have a flow meter for every individual kitchen or for every individual floor or a section based on the requirement of the client. And then you need to have an emergency or an isolation valve outside the gas bank in a closed enclosure with the breakable glass kind of a thing, which is very important. So in case of an emergency, a person who is who works around the gas bank should be able to access that emergency ball valve outside the gas bank. So the typical LPG design and the typical LPG controls in the gas bank will make you aware that LPG is not just connecting a cylinder to your equipment. There's a lot of things that get involved into it, which makes it as a safe practice and a safe environment for everybody around it. Now, as we've discussed about the design of an LPG system, let's get into the LPG savings and conservation part. And we've been educating a lot of our clients on savings and conservation, and we are proud to tell you that to most of the clients where we educate and we make changes to the existing installations, if done by someone else, we always have great feedback from the clients saying that they've actually saved up to 40% of their LPG consumption. And this is done solely on the knowledge that we have, and also the knowledge that we share to the client, and also the willingness of the client to accept the facts that they've been wasting LPG, and the things that they have to take care for conserving of LPG. So it is a two-way process. It's not like we say something to the client and they save LPG. It is a two-way process where we give suggestions and the client has to listen to it and try to impart them into their daily this thing installation. So the factors that determine the LPG conservations, there are several factors. The key factors are discussed here, whereas you need to have a right type of gas bank. As you are all, most of you who have seen the LPG installations are aware that gas banks are of different types, where you can have a vapor offtake, which is VOT installation, or an LOT installation with regular size cylinders, or even have a 425 kg cylinders, or even bullets for the industries and sorts. So this right type of gas bank is designed based on the end usage and other factors like the space that is available and things like that. So any installer should keep an very should keep an eye on all of these things before designing a gas bank. And coming into the size of the gas bank, that is again designed based on the consumption rates, based on how often you want to change the cylinders in the gas bank. So things like that will be very helpful in designing a gas bank. And apart from that, the pressure setting at the gas bank and also at the kitchen levels. As I've already mentioned to you, the pressure for individual equipments are different, and based on that only you have to determine the pressure that is needed for a particular section, and that has to be prescribed at the individual section level. And having right type of burners, because if your consumption is cooking for about 20 people or 30 people or even 1,000 people, based on that you have to choose the burner, and not just because somebody has mentioned that you take this burner. You should ask questions as to why this burner is needed, and based on that what will happen is you'll be saving a lot of LPG, because right type of burners means right type of pressure, means right type of volume, which means proper, sufficient and adequate LPG is passed to the burners, which means savings indirectly. And apart from this, all the technical aspects of pressure and volume settings and right type of burners and the gas bank type and the size of the gas bank, it is very important to have periodic staff training on LPG conservation, operational convenience, safety and design, because after all, I mean, for example, at any institute, if the decision makers are the project managers or the corporate chefs or the executive chefs or the kitchen managers, end of the day, the chefs or the maintenance staff inside the kitchen are the ones that are going to use the system eventually, and they have to be trained properly on what is the system that they are using, what are the features that their system have, and how to save LPG and how to use it in an efficient way. So periodic training, and we suggest every quarterly or biannual training has to be given to all the staff concerned in the department. And apart from this, all the records, starting from the installation records, starting from post installation records, or your consumption patterns, or any issues that have happened in the due course, have to be recorded, and all of these have to be maintained properly for you to refer back. So as I've just mentioned that the pressure and volume plays a majority role when it comes to saving of LPG, I'll just give you a brief example and for your reference. Um with increase in pressure, the volume increases. It is as straightforward as that. I'm not saying that you have to use it at a very low pressure. You have to use the installation at the right pressure. Right pressure means right pressure to the burners and no wastage of LPG. For example, if you're using at 0.3 bar pressure, the volume of LPG that is consumed is about 2.74 kgs per centimeter cube at a certain temperature and altitude of installation. However, what will happen is if the same installation is run at 2 bar pressure, you can see the jump in the volume, which is about 6 kgs per hour, 6 kgs per centimeter cube. So as you can see, they're almost 2.5 to 3 times increase in volume. That will explain you that how important a pressure setting at a gas bank or a kitchen level is important to make sure that you're not wasting LPG, and also you're not causing unnecessary issues or causing safety issues in the installation or in the kitchen. So now, as we've just discussed about the design, your pressure, your aspects like that, and also the consumption, how it will vary based on the pressure and the volume. Before we come to the conclusion, I'll just give a brief about do's and don'ts. There are quite a few here. I'll just quickly run through it. However, because of the time constraint, once this presentation is done, we can share this with you, and you can go through it at your leisure. So they're about we've noted it down to about 14 do's and about 14 to 15 don'ts, and these have to be strictly followed by everyone that are involved in the LPG installation or the LPG setup. So all these do's and don'ts will be shared with every one of you, and please make sure that you go through them and pass it on to your staff or to your colleagues, and make sure that they understand each aspect of it. So details are given as to what are the do's and don'ts, and what will happen if you follow them, or if you don't follow them, are also given subsequently on the right hand side. So these will help you in understanding the LPG better, and also in having a much better and a safe place to operate, and a safe environment for everybody that are involved. So generally, as we've discussed so far, from the design to listening to the customer to after sales service and things like that, the process is usually like this. So you approach a customer, you listen and understand their needs, and you collect the technical information from them, and you think and process based on your knowledge and expertise as to what is the right design or what is the right product for the customer, and then you discuss it with the client, and then you execute it with proper training and documentation, and by giving an exceptional after sales service, which is very important in making sure that you and both the client and everybody involved are happy and are safe and having a convenient and a very a conservative kind of an installation. So we strongly believe in this process, and we follow it in every of our installation and other services that we offer. So as we've discussed about the LPG, the design factors, the safety aspects of it, I'll just quickly run through the services that we offer. So our LPG services are end-to-end, that include storage, regulation, your distribution and installation services, along with relevant testing, training and auditing. We also provide all sorts of LPG spares at a very affordable price, and also the AMCs, which are very periodic and very professional, with a separate dedicated team force. So our key areas are TechnoPerfect LPG installations, consulting and auditing services, and apart from that, we also provide LPG process flow and line diagrams with site-specific designs, and also designs for assured gas savings. And we integrate leak detection systems, flow monitoring devices, fire suppression systems, auto cut-off mechanisms, and site-specific automations in our installations after discussing with our clients. So apart from this, professional AMCs, periodic trainings, and other spares is what we offer to the clients. So it might raise a question, why us or why anybody who is professional in this field? Because it all matters with the experience. So we've got about 32 years of experience in the same field, and we've done more than 3,000 installations with the pan-India presence. Our strength is our design, and we mainly focus on safety, operational convenience, quality, and a conservation of LPG. And we have dedicated teams for installations, for services, and for AMCs and other sorts of things that we offer. And we provide comprehensive LPG solutions, be it anything from your design or installation or supply. We are there to help you. and every installation or every service that we offer, and we urge all the installers to follow the same, is to not template it rather than to tailor it as per the customer's requirement. It is very important for an LPG installation or any critical installation that it has to be as per the site specific conditions and requirements, and not as a template. So over the past, now I'll just quickly run through the clients that we've given our services over the past years, and after that we can have the discussion and questions from all the participants, for which my father, Mr. Venugopal, will be joining us. So over the past 32 years, we've had the privilege to work with the most renowned clients from different hotel groups and IT sectors, MNCs, educational institutions, different pharma companies, restaurants, hospitals, and even a lot of domestic clients. So these are some of our key clients or esteemed clients that we work with and continue working with. So end of it, what I personally feel and I want you all to make a note of is money spent on a technically perfect installation, be it an LPG installation or be it any sort of installation in your facility. On a technically and a quality installation, the money that is spent on it is, you have to treat it as an investment rather than an expenditure. So we strongly believe in it, and we also urge everybody who has participated today will take a note of it and follow it in all your future projects or your future works. So now I'm just going to share the contact information of our company, and Mr. Brijesh, we can start off with the question and answer section, or the discussion of the panel.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation. And we call upon Mr. Venugopal also for the Q&A now. We have our first question from Mr. Birendra Kumar.
Yeah, good morning. Akhil. Mr. Venugopal, good morning. My question is, you did talk about the brands, standard brands. One, can you send us the list of recommended brands that you're looking for? And second, you talked about the right sizing of the gas banks. So how to calculate the right sizing of the gas bank, and what is the area required per cylinder?
I'll give you. You see, as far as the burners are concerned, this is the total number of burners that are available in the property, kitchen-wise. You have to calculate the total BTU of each burner, and a diversity factor about 30 to 40%, depending on what kitchen it is, how what sort of a business it is catering to. Based on that, have say 100 kgs of gas requirement as per the design of the total kitchen. Maybe 30% or 40% of it will be sufficient for the gas bank to supply gas, the required gas. And each cylinder of 19 kg can give you only about 650 grams of gas per hour. So if your requirement is say 6.5 kgs per hour, you need 10 cylinders at any given point of time to be running simultaneously together. And as far as the gas bank is concerned, it is about anything between 3 to 4 square feet per cylinder is required in the gas bank for easy movement, connection and disconnection of the cylinders. Hello?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Can we have Mr. Rahul Talwar?
Yes, my question was related to Akhil's presentation, and he was asking for adequate ventilation in the kitchen. Now, from a food safety standpoint, FSSAI has a regulation of 23 air cycles per hour as a recommendation. Do you have anything further to that in the form of an LPG point of view?
As far as LPG ventilation is concerned, normally the hoods and HVAC should be sufficient enough to take out the to dilute the gas inside the kitchen in case there is a leakage. And then there is a gas leak detection system which will sense it in case it is present there and disconnect the gas supply. So kitchen ventilation actually means it is not a physical ventilation like you have windows at the ground level and things of that sort, but it is an adequate ventilation by HVAC. That's what it is mentioned.
Perfect, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
May we have Mr. Javed?
Can you hear me, sir? Am I audible?
Yes, we can. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Sir, my question is, I have an LPG flow meter which measures in cubic meter. If I have to convert that into kilograms, what is that? What is the conversion factor, and how do I convert it into kilograms?
Yeah, it's like this, that every flow meter that is available here or anywhere is mostly on the volume it gives. It gives in cubic meters.
Okay.
And cubic meter to gas weight, the conversion depends on many factors, the major factor being the pressure at which the flow meter is handling it.
Okay.
If the flow meter is handling a 2 bar or 1 bar or 1.5 bar, whatever, wherever it is at that pressure, the conversion factor will vary. Whereas the actual consumption may be much lower, maybe 300 millibar for the high pressure burners is the design pressure, and 28 to 30 or 45 millibar is for the low pressure burners.
Okay.
So literally, we need a flow meter for the low pressure burners and the high pressure burner separately if you want to precisely know that which sort of a burner is consuming how much of gas versus the production.
Basically, this flow meter is located in the gas bank. All I have to do
in the gas bank. Normally, the maximum pressure that it can handle is 2 bar as per the norms.
Yeah, there is a pressure regulator.
So you have to see the pressure that is going through the flow meter with a pressure gauge, either in before the flow meter or soon after the flow meter. So if it is at 1.5, then we have a chart at 1.5. What will be the conversion factor?
Yeah, it's 2 kg, sir. I measured it.
It's 2 kg. We have a conversion factor. It was shown in one of the slides. But if you can share your details, we will send you a detailed conversion factor to your email ID.
Okay, sir. And my second question is, we get ice formation in the cylinders very frequently in winters, especially when we have a high banquet function.
Where are you located?
It is in Tirupati, sir. Tirupati. I faced it in other location also. We do not have this LOT type of this thing. It is a basic LPG.
LOT is not the answer for this. You see, the question is, if your requirement of gas is X, say it is 10 kgs per hour, you need to have at least 12 to 14 cylinders connected in the gas bank at any given point of time. See, many of the users, what they do is they start the day with connecting with 2 full cylinders, and as the pressure goes down in the kitchen, they add 2 more cylinders, and they keep on doing this for the whole day, which is not to be done. If the design is for 12 cylinders, a gas bank, all the 12 cylinders should be connected in one go, and this freezing issue or the cylinders getting cold and sweating and all that will be totally ruled out. If the design is not proper, the design has to be redone.
Okay. And my last question is in LPG lines, in the pipelines, a lot of my safety auditors are asking to earthen it to discharge the static electricity. Is there any norms or is there any protocol
normally,
how to do that?
Yeah, normally most of the LPG lines, wherever there is a flange joint, the flange joint, there is a copper strip which is there, and then at the gas bank you can connect it to the earth, and thereby the static electricity issue is taken care of.
Okay. Sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
May we have Mr. Satish Joshi, please?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Mr.
Yes.
Satish, yeah.
Mr. Joshi?
Yeah, speaking. Just a minute, sir.
Yeah.
I have got, sir, 3 questions.
Yeah.
What are the standards for selection of the equipments and with their certification marks? Number 2 is, which are the agencies who can certify the kitchens for compliances? And third question is, which are the agencies for third-party inspection before procurement and after installation?
See, as far as kitchen equipment is concerned, for the commercial kitchen equipment, there is no specific norm as of now in the country. You have to go with the company's background, what sort of equipment they have produced, how they have understood the need, and how they have addressed many other safety factors. Based on that, you'll have to make a choice, because it doesn't have, all these commercial equipment do not have any particular IS code or BIS code as of now in the country.
And now the second question is, which are the agencies who can certify the kitchens for the compliances?
See, basically for the agencies, compliance and all that, you see, most of the kitchen consultants who are aware of this subject will be able to help you. And or, people like us, we can also be called wherever in the country. We can come, we can look at the whole thing, we can give you suggestions and give you a certification that this is as per the norms, which is supposed to be followed.
Do you have the facility for the third-party inspections before procurement and after installation?
Third-party inspection and all that, we will not be able to address it right now. But there are a couple of third-party inspectors, basically for the gas bank and the LPG installation, but not connected with the burners, gas ranges, and the utility point of view.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May we have Mr. Vivekanandan Krishnan, please?
Yeah, morning, Akhil. That was a very good presentation. Morning, Mr. Venu. My question to you is about LOT and VOT. We find a lot of gas companies who are coming in. There are many of the national companies who come in and want to install manifold at their cost. And they say that they would like to put up everything and then they will charge you, not for the cylinders, but on a per kilo basis. I would like to know this, whether it's worth taking that, number one. Number two is, would you also recommend LOT or not? And I have a couple of questions after that. Thank you.
See, the need for an LOT installation is specific, where the volumes of the gas consumption is on the very high side versus the place available for the sake of the gas bank is in a very constrained location, following all the safety factors. It is only in such conditions that LOT can be recommended. Number two, there could be some marketing companies or their, dealers or distributors who would like to invest in the gas bank or, the system to some extent. And they say that we will be charging by the volume of gas you use. So that gives the, an instant sort of a pain relief to most of the clients. They think, my half the job is done. Well, one has to understand, if I am coming forward to invest in the gas system at your place, what is my understanding for that? How am I going to get it back? And how soon am I going to get it back? And how long am I continuing to make a profit out of it? Only then I am going to invest. So I personally suggest that people should understand all these factors and understand between the lines, and then take a decision.
Okay, thank you. But what about LOT installations? I mean, talking of the NCVs and all those adapters, do you think these have to be changed after about 3 or 4 years compared to a VOT?
See, LOT installation, as you have in the previous session where Akhil had addressed, LOT, any leakage in LOT, if it is leaking in the liquid section, it expands 270 times. So the care that is required, is also so high. So one has to be clear about it. People think whether it is liquid or vapor, it is a gas leak. No. A volume of gas leaked by the liquid will be 270 times more than that of the vapor, or it will get expanded to 270 times into vapor. And a 2 to 10% of that can cause a hazard, a fire, an explosion. So we have to be doubly careful, many times more careful in an LOT installation, that there is absolutely no leakage, neither in the liquid form, which is very highly dangerous, and then there shouldn't be any leakage obviously in the vapor section also. Vapor section is normally after the vaporizer. Before the vaporizer it is the liquid section, after the vaporizer it is the vapor section.
So what is the minimum clearance that you need in case there is a VOT because of this expansion of 270 times?
The minimum distance, you see, from any other installation all around has to be a minimum of 3 meters as suggested by the rules. We personally feel that each and every client should take care of this particular thing. Minimum 3 meters on all 4 sides of the LOT installation.
Okay, 2 quick questions. I just wanted to know, what is this excess flow check valve? Could you explain that?
Excess flow check valve is normally put in the section of the manifold or for the total manifold system, wherein if there is a leakage down the line, a big leakage, there is a burst in pipe or crack in a pipe, or some reason there is a huge leakage, at least the gas, if there is a heavy rush of gas from in the pipeline, the excess flow check valve will sense that, and it will shut the flow instantly.
So, but what
So that
happens?
is the reason we need an excess flow check valve for such cases, where excessive leakages can happen.
Okay, but if I have a gas leak detection system, should I invest in an excess flow check?
Well,
meter?
excess flow check valves do not really cost much. Excess flow check valve do not really cost much. It is a you see, gas leak detection system are specific to certain areas, whereas the leakage can happen in between the gas bank and the kitchen, or in a kitchen where the leak detection system isn't there. So it is for those areas where this will address. This is due to the pressure drop, because excessive flow, when it happens, there is a sudden pressure drop in the system, and the excess flow check valve, there is a spring operated device. It will immediately collapse and it will not allow the gas to pass through unless it is repositioned.
Okay, one last quick question about the international bar. The pressure is normally about 0.354, but incidentally, the end user always wants a higher pressure at 1.5 or even 1. So how do we go about this? Because they don't realize that they're wasting a lot of gas. So how do we go about educating our actual end users?
See, it's a question of the awareness the end user have to have, especially in the kitchen, and I mean everybody connected with handling gas. Now the gas burner, every gas burner that is manufactured anywhere is designed for a certain pressure to give you the optimum heat output. Beyond that, if we are giving more pressure, we may be giving a little more flame, but a lot more wastage of gas. It is not in proportion. The pressure and the heat output is not in proportion beyond the design pressure. If the design pressure is 0.3 kg or 330 millibar or 300 millibar, whether it's low pressure or high pressure, the burner gives you the maximum heat output. That is, the efficiency of the burner is at peak at that particular thing. But if we are going to give more pressure to the high pressure burners, the intensity of the flame will marginally increase, but with a lot of wastage of gas. And this lot of wastage of gas can happen anything between 20 to 30 to 40 and even sometimes 50-60% also. And
So,
we can individually answer this question if there is a specific query.
One last question. This non-combustion of gas, would that result in some obnoxious, say, flue gas or something which is going to be dangerous for the chefs?
Non-consumption of gases.
Not combustion.
Yeah, I mean, non-combustible gases, you see, this excess, when there is an excess pressure, obviously the entire gas is not getting burnt. There is some gas that is getting out, it is being sucked by the ventilation, or it is finding a way out into the atmosphere. This additional unburned gas actually causes a bit of irritation in the eyes to start with, and then it follows with other factors like breathing troubles and things of that sort, which is to be understood first before it is being avoided. One has to understand this, why it is happening, then, avoiding it will come naturally.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Venu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can we have Mr. Murthy DRS?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Good afternoon, Venu.
Yeah, Mr. Murthy. Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
It's a pity that gas is painful everywhere, even if it is in body or if it is in a cylinder or if it leaks.
Yeah.
And of course, coming to the points, I just wanted to understand that what is the velocity at which we design the pipe sizing? Like if we need to do a proper sizing of the pipe, depending upon the demand and the supply of the gas banks, how do? Acha, 1 meter per second.
Hello.
Yeah. What is the velocity with which I would size the piping? That is the query.
See, at around approximately 2 bar pressure.
Yeah, approximately 1.5 to 1.8 kgs.
Yeah, 1.5 to 2 up to a maximum of that, and up to 25 kgs of gas flow per hour. Right. 1 inch line is more than sufficient.
Okay, fair point. Fair point. But there is no thumb rule that we take the velocity of the gas to 1.5.
Velocity is basically the pressure only. Pressure is the velocity at which it flows, and the consumption. If the consumption is there, the velocity is there. Otherwise, is a stagnated, gas inside.
But actually, LPG behaves very notoriously inside the pipe once, because if the temperatures come below 27 degrees, it doesn't remain gas inside the line also. So that's why I was more keen in understanding if at all any velocity is to be taken. Fair point. I've understood the point. The next question has already been asked, that it was if all the burners 0.3 kgs is what the working pressure is. And of course, you have also given insight about the volatile organic compounds. So I'll just skip this. And the last question I would like to understand is, there are n number of burners which are available in the market, and probably if I look at T, G, C, M, any type, specifically maybe 35 or 50, they will be giving me similar type of BTU. How would I choose? In the presentation, it was very well depicted. Thanks to both of you. But how would I choose that? For this section I'll take G or C, or probably for this section I'll take an M, or for this section I'll take a T. So how do I distinguish, even though any type of the burner, the BTU is the same in each type?
Yeah, I'll answer that. You see, like a G-type burner is a wider burner, burner where the flame spreads a little more wider, but it doesn't spread with a volume, with a torch, like a torch. Like if you, in India, the most popular burners are the torch burners, which are mostly initially developed by United Works in Mumbai and then copied by many others, and they are all called T-type burners, torch. Right. Torch 35 consumes about 1.56 kgs of gas, whereas torch T22 consumes about 900 grams of gas per hour, and so on. And equally, if we go by certain standards of United Works, their M35 burner and T35 burner consume the same volume of gas, but the flame, flame design is slightly different. So it goes into different, for different vessels, different purposes, like a kadhai. Yeah. Like a kadhai needs a widespread sort of a thing, not centered. So, you may need a M-type or a G-type. Whereas, for certain cookings, the torch type burner is better. And like, we use the ribbon type burners, for the dosa plates and the hot plates and things of that sort. And there are certain G type of burners which are with a wider mouth. And there are other burners which are not of a given standard in the country. Many people may have made or replicated things from United Works, but I will not say that they are as perfect as them, because inside a burner there are at least 8 different parts, And when the gas comes out, it comes out through a jet of 4 small orifices. And then, the whole volume of that in a pressure of 0.3 kg constitutes about 1.56 kgs of gas. That is how it is done. And there is eventually through which the gas flows into the mixing tube and then comes out to the burner with an intake of required air from the atmosphere. So this proportion is dependent on the velocity. So when you increase the gas volume, what will happen? The increase of air also doesn't happen because it is designed for 0.3 kg per hour. So what will happen is you will have a lot of gas which is not really burnt, or maybe part of gas it is burnt and part of it is left into the atmosphere. That is where the gas wastage is done, and that's where we have addressed in our previous session that one should be very cautious about the gas burner pressure and at what pressure are we using it. Hello.
Yes, sir. May we have Mr. Mubarak Ali?
Yes, sir. This is rather a very small basic question. May I know that why do people keep the gas cylinders in the water when it comes to sweating stage?
See, Mr. Mubarak, it's like this, that as we have already in our previous presentation given you elaborate way of telling you what the gas bank is and things of that sort. Anyway, it's like this, that if your gas consumption is X, and each cylinder, one has to understand, gives only 650 grams. A 19 kg cylinder on an average all over the country will give you, except in extreme north, that is in Himachal or Kashmir or other places, where the average temperature in summer is about 30-35 degrees centigrade and winter is about 20-25 degrees centigrade. The average gas output from a 19 kg cylinder is about 650 grams, plus minus 50 to 100 grams here or there. But we calculate at 650 grams. So if your consumption, you have to see that what sort of a burners you are having, so that the total sum of all the burners put together, and with the diversity factor. You see, because you may be having 10 burners, each consuming about 1.5 kgs of gas. That constitutes to about 15 kgs of gas. But any given point of time, the burner will not be in a high flame. Any given point of time, all the burners may not be in use. So that diversity factor all over the country on an average for the hospitality sector varies from a low running kitchen to from 20-25% of the total installed capacity to up to 40-45% of the total installed capacity. Now, once you know about your total installed capacity, divide that. Suppose you have 10 kgs of gas, 10 kgs divided by 650 grams. So that's about 15, 16 or 17 cylinder, whatever it comes. So that many cylinders have to be connected in the gas bank. Once it is done, the sweating doesn't happen. When the sweating doesn't happen, it doesn't need any extra heat, which is dangerous for the gas cylinder, like hot water, putting in hot water, dipping it in hot water baths, and pouring hot water. Many, wrong practices do happen. I can probably tell you in one of the star hotels in Hyderabad, sometime way back about 15 years ago, there was an accident in which one person lost his life on the spot. I mean, these details I can tell you, on a one-to-one basis. So dipping a cylinder into a hot water is totally against the norms of LPG. Any LPG rule anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. Cylinders are to be used in their atmospheric temperature only. No induced temperatures or no induced heat should be given to the cylinders.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
May we have Mr. Ashwin Menon, please?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Venugopal.
Hi, Ashwin. How are you?
Yeah, good, sir. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a lot of metro cities getting the PNG infrastructure. So currently we're talking about LPG, but down south, I think in other major metros also this is going to be seen that the laying of infrastructure is also happening at a very quick pace. So my question here is, once the PNG line is laid, and there is an existing, say, a hotel or a cafeteria running on LPG gas bank. Can this same line be converted into a PNG line, or is there a complete infrastructure that has to be laid in the secondary line as well?
I don't think there will be a need for a secondary line as far as the line is concerned, to a large extent, because PNG, the calorific value is low. As you know, it is about 30% lower than LPG. So you need 30% bigger diameter of pipe if you are very specific about the gas flow. But in case the line is already designed properly or slightly designed more than the present requirements, the existing line will be good enough to take care of PNG also. But the regulations have to be changed, because the regulator, the LPG, pressure that is required for high pressure burners in the country is about 300 millibar or 0.3 kg, whereas for natural gas it will be slightly more. So you'll have to change the regulator, or you have to change the setting of the regulator if it is possible, followed by the burners. There is a change required in the burners in the oxy LPG ratio, because it will be requiring little lesser oxygen than LPG, because LPG has got a higher calorific value. It needs one quantum of gas, whereas PNG requires lesser LPG because it is of a lesser calorific value. So there has to be a change in the oxy LPG ratio at the mixing level in the burner inlet. And the other thing is the burner head. Burner head also changes slightly with bigger orifices for the flame to come out to the vessel.
Does it mean that
these burners are readily available, and they can just be replaced with a change in the oxy LPG ratio?
So that would also mean that the flow meters also have to be changed?
Flow meters, many of the cases, flow meters are at the gas bank level, they cater to about 2 kg pressure, and LPG, PNG, when it comes in the line, it is normally at 4 kg pressure. It is then reduced to 2 kg pressure or something. So the same flow meter will also work for this. There shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, fine. So thank you. Thanks. That answers my question.
Thank you.
May we have Mr. Sugavanam, please?
Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Sugavanam.
What is standard gas consumption per person per meal, sir?
It all depends on what sort of a meal somebody is expecting and somebody is cooking.
Okay.
So that is one.
Say for 5-star hotel banquets.
Well, if we just speak about a la carte, it will be slightly different. For a banquet, it will be slightly different. For some cuisine, it will be different. But on an average, anything between 30 to 60 grams.
30 to 60 grams.
30 to 60 grams. Should be reasonable.
Okay.
Maybe with about another 20-30% more than 60 grams. Sometimes it is 75 grams, because in banquets, it is normally seen, that the preparation is slightly on the higher side than the actual consumption. So it will be slightly more for the banquets than in the a la carte. A la carte is specific for the table, so they are cooked only for that particular portion.
If it is PNG, sir?
Sorry?
If it is PNG?
CNG?
PNG.
PNG also will be slightly more, about 30 to 40% more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
More than LPG. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
May we have Mr. Prakash Gupta?
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, Mr. Gupta. Good afternoon.
Yeah. So I have 3 questions.
Yeah.
My first question, well, you asked this. This was asked to many of our participants also asked, but I was not able to hear it. During our winter seasons, what is the best practice to prevent the gases from freezing? what is the best, safest way to use to prevent the gas from freezing during the winter season?
Shall I answer this question before I listen to the second?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. See, first of all, as I was discussing with a couple of people earlier also, and even in our presentation, a cylinder can give you something like 650 grams of gas per hour. In winter, it may come down to 600 grams or a little less than 600 grams. So you have to calculate and you have to ensure that your gas bank is rightly sized, properly sized, and all the cylinders are connected at a given point of time on day one. Because it has been a practice, as we have seen in many locations all over the country, that the gas bank is for 20 plus 20 cylinders. There are hardly 10 cylinders connected in one section of the gas bank. The other section is empty. And then what happens is, when the gas pressure has gone down, especially in winters, and when the volume of consumption is high, they keep on adding 2 more cylinders, 2 more cylinders. What happens is the pressure which has, the cylinder which were already in use have already lost pressure due to the usage of gas. The pressure will come down. Now the cylinders what you will add will contribute to a very high pressure, and they will not allow the previous cylinders to function till there is an equilibrium between all the cylinder, because they are all connected to one common manifold. So the ideal thing is, if your design is proper, and thinking that your design of the manifold is proper, if it is for 10 cylinder, 15 or 20 or 25, whatever is the size of the manifold, please ask your people to connect all the cylinders in one go, whether it is summer, winter, autumn or spring. And that will resolve, that will take care of your freezing and other issues in the winter. And especially if the winters are very, very low, very low temperatures in certain parts of the countries, if you have 2 gas banks, and if you have to fill cylinders in both the areas, maybe one suggestion is that you run the one arm of the gas bank for the first 1 or 2 hours, the pressure goes down and the cylinders start freezing, and then you put on the other side of the gas bank for some more time. In the meantime, the first gas bank will recover the temperatures which it has lost by way of excessive evaporation. It will take in temperature from the atmosphere, and it will be ready after maybe 1 or 2 hours. And then you can switch over from A to B, B to C every 2 hours or every 2.5 hours, depending on the need.
Okay, sir, isn't there any measures that we can increase the temperature? Like, do we have to depend on the atmospheric temperature?
100% it is to be dependent on atmospheric temperature. 100%. You cannot have a hot air blower into the thing, which is not permitted by any rules in the country. Neither you can put in hot water, which is also again very, very dangerous, because if it crosses 50 degrees centigrade, you see the expansion of gas from its liquefied state to vapor state is at a very rapid pace, and that is where the cylinder, bursting in cylinders, accidents do happen. It is only on those areas.
Okay, thank you, sir. It was a good feedback. My second question is, do you also deal with extraction of gases from STPs?
No, we don't do that. No, though that is also gas, but we deal in LPG only. That is in a manifold installation, as we have been discussing for the past 1 hour.
And my third and last question is, do you have any representative in Kathmandu, in Nepal?
In Kathmandu? No. Right now we don't have, though we have some inquiries from Kathmandu. Maybe in the given times, we can think of, but as of now, no.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. It was very good feedback. Thank you.
May we have Mr. Prateek?
Good afternoon, Mr. Venu. Hi, Akhil. How are you? Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very informative.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a few quick questions for you. Akhil had mentioned something about the different kind of gas piping MOCs that we use. We have SS and MS. So normally in India, as per the IS norms, we see a lot of C-class MS pipelines. So, you know, in your experience, you know, for corporate projects, you know, who are looking to have most optimal conditions as per the condition, as per the given norms, what would you recommend?
See, it depends on, you know, what is the installation, and, you know, what people are looking for. Especially this polyethylene composite pipe, the gas grade pipes, they have been in use in the world for the last 60 years, 60.
Mm-hmm.
In more than 60, 70 countries, developed and the top countries of the world, they have been using polyethylene composite pipes for most of their gas requirements.
Okay.
Well, in India today, we have mostly MS lines or SS lines, which are as per the norms. But with the ASTM norms, which are American standards, you can use, and you are only supposed to use polyethylene composite lines where MS lines are not permitted.
Okay.
So we have used these in many multinational companies, many star hotels in and around the country, in huge volumes. I mean, in some place, I think in one hotel, we have used a pipeline length of almost 1 kilometer length, and that is a polyethylene composite pipe way back about 12, 13 years ago.
Okay.
And we have done it in many other, I mean, I'm just trying to give that example because it is the length of the pipe which was really high. So in some places, maybe for a pharmaceutical company, we have laid a 1 kilometer length of pipe without a joint even, without a joint. It only begins and ends. So the chances of leakage en route, you know, is ruled out for the next 50 years, 50. The life of this pipe is 50. Even the stainless steel also, we cannot give a life of 50 years. So that's how these pipes are recommended everywhere in the world. And maybe sooner or later, our standards also will get upgraded to these pipes over a period of time. These are mostly suggested in between the gas bank and the kitchen entry, up to the kitchen entry, because inside the kitchen, we will recommend only a rigid pipe, that is MS or SS, or a seamless pipe. Yeah.
Okay. Now, sir, as far as you know, in certain suburban cities, you know, the gas bank location is always a bit of a hindrance. So, in your recommendation, you know, how far, or you know, what would be the ideal location for a gas bank as far as your distance is?
You know, if the gas bank is containing about up to 320 kgs of gas,
okay,
the total volume of gas is 320 kgs. It can be inside the building, but with the entry and exit facing outside. It can be, I mean, it can be a part of the building, but with the door opening to the atmosphere.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, in such cases, you can store up to 320 kgs of gas. Beyond 320 kgs, up to 1 ton per manifold has to be 3 meters away from the building or any structure. This rule holds good anywhere in the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, sir, a lot of our clients, they try to go for, you know, maybe a hybrid system wherein, you know, they would like to have that option to switch from PNG to LPG. Or, you know, they would like to design for an LPG system now because the PNG system is not available. But, you know, switch on to that. You already told me how we can do that. But do you recommend that to be done in active swapping maybe once every 6 months or a year if the condition arises?
See, to have a PNG option for an existing LPG installation, and maybe, you know, only in some areas of the country, some parts of the city, PNG may be possible. It cannot be cross country everywhere. So in such cases where somebody is designing a new system, they can always have a tap-off point after the gas bank, in which, you know, it can be connected to a PNG at a later date. But if they are doing it with this thought in their mind, they should have a slightly bigger size of pipe, at least 30-40% bigger diameter of pipe, based on the gas volumes, and up to the kitchen. And then inside the kitchen also, the pipe has to be slightly larger. Normally, we recommend to have a larger pipe than what is really required. So it can take care of both CNG and or PNG and LPG also. And then, as I was telling Mr. Ashwin Menon, you know, the burners need a bit of calibration. The
Correct.
burners
Change the Ventura and the burner head, etc.
That's right.
Now, sir, this one question is something that we've already answered, but when we're designing a gas bank, so what is there a diversity factor? What kind of diversity factor do you consider? I understand it depends on the operation also, but as a general design basis, any particular range that you would have?
I'll just answer that.
So for bulk cooking, in a case where there's bulk cooking and in a case where there would be an a la carte.
That's right. You see, especially bulk cooking, what we see over the past couple of decades is that the bulk cooking normally happens in a short duration of time. Larger volumes is cooked in lesser time, whereas a la carte is spread over smaller cooking spread over a longer duration of time. So that is the basic difference what we see.
Correct.
So for a bulk cooking, if you know that your bulk kitchen is segregated separately, and you know that what sort of burners you're going to use and how many hours these burners are going to be in high flame, medium flame, approximate judgment about it, and then when you come down to your specific requirements, which can be some volume, something like say 10 kg, 15 kg or 20 kg per hour, then what you do is, based on that, your gas bank has to supply that volume of gas, and the gas bank has to be designed for such requirement. Because each cylinder of 19 kg, which is normally used anywhere in the country, 85 to 90% of the cylinders are 19 kg, 19. And these cylinders give about 650 grams plus minus about 50, 60 or 100 grams here or there. Per hour. So based on that, one can calculate their own size of gas bank. If it is undersized, the gas bank size is suggested to be expanded, to be increased to meet these requirements.
At least the minimum amount of cylinders we'll provide, but beyond that, as a backup, normally you would give a 1:1 or a 1:6, 1:1.6 ratio. So at least a 60% up as what your current capacity would be. So any diversity factor that you would have in mind for these?
Diversity factor, you see, what we find is, for a low running, restaurant, it starts from 25%, and to a very high volume running restaurant goes up to almost 60%.
Okay, 25 to 60%.
Thank you, sir. Can we have Mr. Chatterjee? Yep. Mr. S. Chatterjee.
Hello, Mr. Chatterjee.
So can I just take one last question, if you don't mind, Mr. Brijesh?
Yeah, please.
Sure. As you said that for the 25 to 60 for the small restaurant, but when you work for the bigger institutes where you make a lot of bulk cooking, what should be the ideal ratio? Is it?
I'm not able to hear. I'm not able to hear you properly.
Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I'm able to hear you. Yeah.
So the question is that normally when you have a bulk cooking, wherein you cook a lot of breakfast, lunch, dinners, and all those kind of things, the kitchen operates right from the 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the evening. But all the burners are not used. And these are the bulk cooking. They are the fixed kind of menu. There is no a la carte. So in such a situation, what should be the percentage of the diversity? Will it vary from the 40 to 60%? Of course, it depends on the usage. It depends kind of a menu you have. What are the selection of equipment?
If your average diversity factor is about say 40% for the total property for a period of a month, in those conditions it can go up to 50% more. Maybe 60% you can calculate.
Okay, so that's okay. But it was a wonderful, sir. It was a very informative, and it's very nice to know.
Thank you. Please get back to us for any further queries.
Sure.
Anywhere in the country, we are there to assist you.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Venugopal. Thank you. Thank
you.
May we have Mr. Chaitanya, please?
Yeah, Venugopal, I'm Chaitanya. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Chaitanya, I'm able to hear you.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm fine. You're calling from Goa?
My question is already. I'm in Goa.
Yeah, you're coming from Goa. Yeah. Tell me.
My question is, we are talking about consumption measurement by using the flow switch and with the consumption or with the measurement that the voltage, the potential. I use all electrical terms. The pressure remains to be at 1.5 bar, right?
Hmm.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, hello. Hello.
Your voice is not audible properly.
My voice is not. Just. Am I clearer now? I think my net is having problems. You are clear to me.
Yeah, it's better, but it was okay previously also, but it was getting interrupted.
No, basically, how do I compare efficiency of the same system? Like the flow meter should show lower reading for the same output. Is it the way, or any better way is there?
No, see, basically flow meter will determine the volume of gas that has passed through at a given pressure. At a given pressure. Pressure is the most important factor for us to calculate, and there is a conversion factor for that. And if the pressure varies, the flow again varies. You know, we cannot take that as a constant thing. At times the pressure may vary in certain areas, certain conditions. So it is at that point of pressure, one should be calculative about what pressure is the gas flow meter handling. Constant pressure, what is the pressure? So based on that,
But do you get a digital pressure meter also, where I can measure both and do some math externally?
You see, there are digital
Let's
things,
say if
but
I can measure both.
No, they will all give you in volumes only, mostly in volumes. The volume has to be converted to weight. So that we have a chart. That chart we can share with you.
No, what I'm asking you is, if I measure volume of the gas and pressure of the gas simultaneously using some processing, can I convert into a proper kg?
We can. You tell me the flow of the gas, and you tell me at what pressure. We can give you a chart in which you can yourself do it, or we can assist you. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Discuss it offline.
May we have Mr. Madhukar, please?
Very good afternoon, Mr. Venugopal.
Very
nice presentation.
Thank
Sir,
you.
I have 2-3 questions which I would like to ask you.
Yeah.
So first is this use of big cylinders like 35 and 50 kg cylinders.
47.5 to be just precise. The commercial cylinders in the country which are marketed by the government marketing companies, they are either 19, 35 or 47.5.
Yes, sir. I mean, bigger than 19 kgs, if we use it, can we see this less water and ice formation?
You see, I'll just answer that. It is a good question.
Gasfields presentation.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please answer.
You are able to hear me? I think Mr. Chaitanya's voice is also audible. Yeah. You see, for a 19 kg cylinder under standard atmospheric conditions, the gas output is about. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the gas output is about 650 grams per hour.
Okay, sir.
Whereas for 35 kgs, it's about 700 grams per hour. Okay. And for 47.5, it is about 770 grams of gas per hour.
Okay.
This variation is with the diameter of the cylinder, diameter.
Okay.
In the diameter, the liquid is subject to the atmospheric pressure inside the cylinder. I mean, atmospheric temperature inside the cylinder. It is the volume of the gas that is subject to it. It is the dia of the cylinder determines what is the evaporation of that particular cylinder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir,
and that varies with external temperature and at what altitude it is there. And what is the composition of gas. All these are minor factors, but the major factor is the temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, my second question is, there's one more participant who has already asked it, but in a much more detailed fashion. Sir, let's say you are in a much colder, in winter region. If you put a gas connected to complete manifold, and all the cylinders are getting reduced, so the pressure reduces, right now, sir?
Yeah.
So when the cylinder reaches maybe 30% of its gas value, the pressure decreases. Then how to extract this gas?
Yeah, I think I was just answering a similar question. You see, for this, there are two things. Either the gas bank design is not as per the needs of the peak needs of in winter. If it is not done, it can be either corrected to a bigger manifold depending on the actual consumptions, or most of the manifolds are a running arm and a standby arm of manifold. You see, if there are 10 cylinders connected. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if there are 10 cylinders connected, there are 10 in the standby also. So I was telling somebody, one of the gentlemen earlier had asked this question. So I was suggesting him that, you can use the first batch of 10 cylinders for maybe 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours. Thereafter, when the pressure really reduces down, you can switch on the other gas bank for another 2-3 hours. In the meantime, the first gas bank, it will take the atmospheric heat and it will generate pressure on its own till the time that you increase your gas bank to the desired levels. This is an immediate, sort of a solution. You can also try it out.
Sir, there is one more question, last question. Sir, there are a lot of brands which are providing this LPG, IOCL, HPCL, BPCL, lot of other companies also.
Yeah.
So out of your 30 years of experience, what would you recommend? Which company gives the better quality of gas?
See, if I say all these, government companies, that is HPC, BPC, IOC, their gas composition is almost the same. At times it is seen that, they source their gas from one source, it goes to different filling plants, and then it gets bottled and comes into the market. So you will not find much of a change between all these three companies. Well, if you are speaking about the other marketeers, there are many marketeers in India. The properties may slightly vary than the PSUs, public sector undertakings. It can vary a little here or there. That will not be able to answer how much it will vary and how much positive it will vary or things of that sort, but it can slightly vary. But as far as the PSUs are concerned, the quality of gas is almost the same at all times.
Sir, my last question is, sir, is there any mechanism where we can actually test the quality of gas? Is it possible by any customer?
You can test it. There are agencies, I'll send you the details. If you can share your details, particulars on a mail, we will send you, the addresses of certain companies who can collect the gas from your side and then test it and give you back a report as to what the quality of the gas was on some payment terms. We don't do it ourselves. We can definitely assist you if we have your details with us.
Okay.
Thank
Sure,
you.
sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Can we have Mr. Vishwanath Pandey, please?
Hi, sir. Venugopal ji.
Pandey ji, how are you?
Good. Great session. Akhil ji did a wonderful job. And I think most of the questions are already answered. But I would want you to, throw some light on, do you do things for even smaller organizations where they can save gas?
Yeah, we can address a single cylinder operated on the street corners. From there onwards, we can serve the 7-star hotels also. Yeah, we can undertake any small installation, the smallest installation possible in the country to the biggest installation required.
Beautiful. And also, have you done works for food processing industry?
Food processing industry, you mean the major bulk
any
kitchens
kind of food? Yeah, any kind of.
Yeah,
no, other than bulk kitchens, the processing industry where like you have factories for bakeries, sweet shops. So where they really process giving packed food and all that. So, have you done something like that, or is it there in your portfolio?
See, I mean, we have done several of them. Question is, that what we look at is what is their gas consumption and at what pressure. And for that, we design the size of the gas bank and we prepare the gas bank outside the building, lay the proper size of pipeline, give the proper regulation, controls and the leak detection system wherever required. And the end user can be anything. It can be a bulk kitchen. It's not very specific that the bulk kitchen has to use it in this manner or this thing. Maybe the consumptions may vary or the duration of the timing may vary from here to there. But more or less, most of the systems are similar.
Great. It was a very nice session, sir. Thank you so much
for
educating all of us. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. May we have Mr. Rahul Talwar?
Yes, Brijesh. I had two questions which were probably directed to me by mistake, and I would just ask them forward. I think one question has already been answered, but this is more related to a specific thing with regard to condensation on the cylinder at the pressure at which the cylinder operates. The evaporation typically reduces the temperature of the liquid, and earthen pot is a very good example. So how does it impact in terms of a gas cylinder per se? That is the first question.
Can I answer this question of yours, Mr. Rahul?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, you were saying about the condensation. Condensation of a cylinder happens only when the gas evaporation is more than its natural evaporation capacity. Like in 19 kgs, it is 650 grams, plus minus 50 or 100 grams here or there in the country. And whereas for 35 kg cylinders, it's about 700 grams, and for 47.5, it's about 770 grams. So if the consumption is on these lines, the cylinders will never get cold or frozen or sweat. Sweating only happens when the consumption is higher than these volumes. Then what it happens, it loses the temperature and the cylinder and the liquid gets colder, and the conversion between the liquefied state to the vapor state reduces. So the proper size gas bank will answer all these questions, and for that a proper knowledge about it, will help in deciding the proper gas bank.
Thank you for answering that. So the next question that was probably directed to me again by this thing was, how long do you think that the usage of LPG would go on as the new era involves induction, electrical and electronic based cooking techniques, keeping in mind technical infrastructure and safety factors?
See, as far as we see, I can only answer about LPG. LPG, I mean, it has been in the country for several decades now, and it's going to be there for several more. And induction will definitely take some inputs, inwards in mostly in the display kitchen areas, where gas is considered to be more hazardous to the clients for open kitchens and things of that sort. But to a large extent, I think gas for all sorts of cookings, gas is the ideal answer. Induction induction ranges and burners are new to the country. They are there only for the last maybe maximum 10 years now. And it is to be seen that, which particular, how comfortable are the cooks or the people using induction are with the particular preparation. For certain preparation, yes, induction is the ideal thing, especially for banquets, especially for see-through kitchens and display kitchens rather. More than see-through, it is the display kitchen.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I think most of the questions are being answered today, and there have been a lot of people who have put down the questions in the chat box as well, and these questions will be answered by Mr. Akhil and Mr. Venugopal on a one-to-one basis on an email or so. So you can take down the details of gas fields. You can reach out to them anytime, and they'll be more than happy to answer your questions and help you out whenever need be. And thank you once again, sir, Mr. Akhil, as well as Mr. Venugopal and Team Gas Fields for this wonderful session.
Thank you, Mr. Brijesh. It was a wonderful time spent with all of you, and we were glad to answer all the questions. And likewise, the clients must have also been happy seeing our presentation. And for any further needs and requirements, please get back to us on our email or give us a call, send us a message, we'll answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brijesh, for your time. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And hope to hear from you all soon. Thank you.